Okay, we don't seem to have too many further participants, so all being well, we will make a start. I note your comments. The video. We are recording this. Hopefully that will be successful. Should it not, just to advise you too, there is, if you go to our website and to the support page, the option to, there is a video on how to do a year end in KEYPrime. So if you could send to April and an email, as I believe that she sent you an invite. We will try in the next couple of days, because we will try and edit it out. I expect it will be quite a large file, and we will either put that on our website, or we will use some method like Mail Big File in order to get that this presentation to you. So because we only have my team viewers just showing up some of your computer names rather than your actual names, so that doesn't help us in terms of getting the request to you. And at the end, if somebody could remind me, I will show you where to go on the website so that you can find it. Okay, so I can see several of you are busy using the chat option, so which is fantastic, because we want your questions from the floor. If we can answer as many queries as possible, that's got to be the best thing. If we don't get to your queries, or should you have any further queries, you can either come back to myself, or you have the support team who are all ready to take any calls and answer any queries that you may have. So let me get rid of this screen to start off with, and here we are. So here's our launchpad. Yours may or may not look like that. I just happen to have a lot of companies on there. You may only have the one company. The first thing before we go and do anything when we're doing this sort of thing is please take a backup. So we click on backup. I'm going to compress it because I don't want it to be a massive file. That the compression will make it smaller, and my personal preference is to encrypt it so that it will be there will be some form of encryption on this backup, and then back it up to your normal site. Mine happens to be the default, which is Landmark KEYPrime Backup, and there it's date and time stamped that we're doing it on today's date at 10:10, and you can go and change that by clicking on the browse button and saving it to your memory stick or to your remote hard drive, whatever else other form of backup you've got. So let's just go off and back it up. Only takes a few seconds, and it'll then come up and it will say that it's been successful. And there we are. It's saying that it's been complete, and it's given us not only the file name but the backup path too. So now we're going to go into intro. Oh, that was the wrong button. Let's come back and sign in. And here we have it. And you're all familiar with this. Now, we need to do some health checks on the system. That's all part and parcel of the year end. And we're going to look at what you need to have a look at. But before we do that, we've actually got some internal ones that are inbuilt into the program. And you will find these up under Utilities. And on the left-hand side here, we have got a Verify button. Please click on that. It'll say it's going to perform a health check and can be run anytime. And you can ask it to ignore the transaction date. So if you have posted, and here we are in late May, you might have posted the rest of May's recurring entries for your hire purchase and private drawings, because they don't change. And so there may be some dates in the future. So we click on verify, and here I've got a few dates in the future, no problem there. What we're looking for is any other messages that may come up there, or that you are happy with these, and the messages might be postponed statements. And if that's the one that you're currently working on, that's not a problem. It's just giving you a warning that that is a problem. Many of you, when you click this, it should just come up and say that verify's been complete and that everything is okay, and you just click on the OK button. Having done that, and under utilities, there is another one here which is saying recalculate opening balances. Just please click on that, and away we go, and that's as quick as that. And then finally go back to verify and give it another verify, and there we have it, and that's done that. Okay. So we've done a little bit of a health check within the program there. We now need to look at the entries that you have been putting on. And the first thing that place that I would always go with intro is off to the bank. And we need to check all of the bank accounts that you have got set up here. And the first place start with is the top one, and have you reconciled that up to, so we can go and look at our reconciliation and look for our last statement, and have we reconciled up to the year end or beyond it, because we need to make sure that we have reconciled everything up to the year end. Now we can go and look at anything that haven't had hasn't been on a statement. So here I am at the reconciliation screen, and I've got two options here, and there's no one way better than the other. We can click on load, and here we can see that actually we have got two lines here that haven't been reconciled. Now we need to take a view on these as to what they are and what we need to do with them. It may be for the Avon Bridge there that it's only just happened and the check might still be in the drawer and you haven't posted it yet, so that one is absolutely fine. But the top one there, we're looking at Vodafone, and they take their money by direct debit. As we can see up here, it's got a D on the method, and so we need to sort this one out. And the easiest way of sorting this one out, as you're probably all aware, is that from the reconciliation here we can click on it, which will bring up this transaction. Now, you may have put in there more description, or it may be just as simple as this, and that isn't telling you a great lot. But if we come down and we use our ledger, yes, we could go up the top here to supplier, but then we've got to find Vodafone. Whereas if we come down here to our ledger and we click on ledger and we then go and run this, we can then have a ledger of it, and we can see that this one here doesn't have a paid against it and it is unpaid, and actually I've duplicated by accident here January's. So we can then either edit it from here, but actually we've got it open here. And you've got two choices. You can either come and copy this line by dragging down and putting a minus in here and saying that this was unpresented. Ooh. And then we can re-add up our total. If I've obviously the VAT, 0.94, the VAT there is, and we can save that, or you do have the option to remove the transaction. So we can then save that, and we've got a record of why it was on there, and that then disappears off our bank reconciliation. So we're looking for, and when the system comes on, when you load up your reconciliation, the little triangle up here by default, it will be in date order. So we're looking for the white lines at the top and maybe any other white lines further down. Now my statement might cover my year end, and these are in the new year, so they're absolutely fine. So we've sorted the one out that was a problem. We're aware of this one because it's still in the drawer. We haven't posted it yet, or Fred, or in this case Avonbridge, is slow in cashing their checks, and so it's fine. If that wasn't the case, then we need to go and edit this transaction and sort this one out as well. But we should be doing our bank rec regularly, keeping it up to date and keeping an eye on these white ones and addressing them ideally throughout the year, but most definitely at the year end, because otherwise when we produce a report, the bank position will be your statement position plus or minus any of these unpresented receipts or unpresented checks, which will actually be a false position, and the accountant will need to change it. So that's the reconcilable bank account. So on here we've got two of them. As you can see, we've got our statement dates here and the last time they were reconciled. So we can see here that we've also got a statement that we haven't reconciled for a while. So again, we need to make sure that we go and find a statement, either download it off the internet or ask the bank for it, and go and reconcile this account. Lastly, on the bank accounts, we have a couple of bank accounts here that if we go and click on edit here, you can see that this is not only a cash account, but it's got a cash account here. What that means is that you don't reconcile this account. But what we do want to check with this, we can either do it via the balances or a transaction report, is that we've got all of our transactions for our date range up to our year end, and have we got that amount in the tin? Because if we haven't, again, we need to agree that amount back to the petty cash tin. If you have it and there's a difference, then we need to post either a transaction, a bank receipt, or a bank payment to get that to come back to the right figure. Some of you will say, actually, isn't that amount in the tin because I've had some out for my own private drawings, so you just need to post a bank payment to the petty cash for the difference that between what is in the tin and what is on the balance here. So that is the bank accounts, and that's really important with Intro that you have the accounts, and as I say, first of all, reconcile the ones that need to be reconciled, and that the cash and the credit card is set up as a cash one here, is the balance that you've got on each month, or certainly at the year end, the correct figures. Okay, moving on. We're going to run, and we started with bank, but basically we're going to run along these ledger buttons here and check that they are all okay. So let's kick off with the customer. And here is your customers, which you're all familiar with. And what we're going to look at here is an age of debt report. So we're going to run it up to our year end, whatever that may be. And we're just going to click OK. So all the options will be the default options, and it's saying that only customs and HMRC are the ones that owe you money. And that's absolutely fine. Now, if I go and run that, I believe, on a month, we've got a bit more here. So this may be because you have been posting your bank receipts or your sales invoices on the system, and you will have these in here at your year end. And I'll have a little look at the transaction in a minute. So were they, as at that date, did they owe you money? That's the thing we need to check. Now there's another report here which we can use, which is to change this from leaving the dates the same but outstanding. So that's saying run the report as at that date, but as of today's date, who is still outstanding, so that you can then see that one of them has paid off subsequently, but this one still owes us the money. And what we're certainly looking for is if it's in current or 30 days or possibly 60 with HMRC, that's okay. But 60 to 90 days, are they actually going to pay you? Do you need to chase it? Do you need to sort it out before the year end? So that's what we're looking for here. Is this accurate? Now, when you go and post your bank receipt, that is looking at the invoice date down here, not the payment date up here. If you leave your invoice date the same, so it may be that you sold something to market and you got the money today, but actually they went in to market on the 30th of the 4th, that will then create a debtor as at the end of the month, even though they have paid you that. And your accountant will be looking for that, and you don't have to do it, but it just saves you having to produce a list for your accountant at the year end when the system can do it automatically. So it is just worth on your bank payments and bank receipts changing the invoice date to be that is on the invoice, and the payment date will obviously be the payment date, so that it will give you the debtor and creditor list. So we need to do exactly the same as on the suppliers, and we go off to our age of credit. Again, we can change our date to our year end, whatever that may be, and we go all and OK, and we've just got the one. You might have a lot more, you might have fewer, and then we can go and rerun it and say, are they still outstanding? And there's nothing on that report, which means everybody you have paid that you owed money to at the end of your financial year. And that's it in a perfect world. So we're just checking again, just a reminder on the bank payment screen, that's using this date down here and not the payment date up here. So that's where we want to change that so that we get a list of our creditors as at the year end. If you have anybody on that list that you need to sort out, that may be that, again, are there duplications, that sort of thing, we might need you, or you might need to go and one further one here. If I, wrong button again. If I go all, you've got summary, but you can also have it by transactions or detail by nominal. And the advantage goes when you are dealing with these three here is that if I go OK, you can then get that, and we can then, can you see that the mouse changes from a pointer to a hand with a finger, drill down as we call it onto there, and you can edit it and see why that was on there, and you can come and edit it, change it, do whatever you need to do it. So we can find out what it is in more detail, and it could be that the detailed report, which I'll come on to later, is often one that an accountant might like, because then they've got all the detail that it was a bank payment, which nominal, enterprise, and for how much, and whether it's been paid. Okay, moving on, the next one here is nominals. So here we've got our nominal listing, and it's well worth going off and running a transactions report. And if it's me, I will do it landscape, and I will do show VAT detail. So let's go and run the report and see why. Well, here is our report, and by putting it in landscape and having the VAT on it, it's just a further check as you scroll up and down this report that you have got the right VAT code on it. Do you need an analysis code on it? And so we can just check running down through here that we have posted everything in the right place. And we can scroll further down, keep going down our thing, and here we can keep moving on, no problem. And we're just checking that we've been consistent. And we can then look at all of these and, is there any big bill that hasn't got a good description? Because the accountant will query that. So we can move on down, and we're into haulage now and market tolls on levies. You can use, I'm using the mouse, but you can use your page up, page down to do it as well. And here we've got some of your miscellaneous receipts and things like that, and your VAT scale charge if you do one. Then we've got the wages. Then we've got machinery repairs, and if you need to edit one, you can again come here and edit it from there. So you can come in here, you can see it, and maybe the sprayer pump needed the enterprise on there as well. And we can save it, and we can edit it from there. So we can put our enterprise, and we've got our analysis code in the case of our machinery repairs, which vehicle or which tractor was the repair for. When it comes to some of these other nominals, we can also do some further checks. For example, here we've got our Vodafone. Have you got 12 of them in the period? Or have you got 11 or 13? Because if you're paying a monthly bill or a quarterly bill, here's our British Telecom, and we've got our 4 quarters. So again, we're just double checking that we've got the right information in the right nominal, but not only that, we've got the right number of them, and we haven't got too few or too many. And here we can come down a bit further, and then lastly we've got our private drawings, and no problem. So we can check there that we've got stuff in the right place, and that we haven't got purchases of machinery and vehicle repairs. They should be in their own nominals in a different group. So that's checking the nominals. It is, as I say, important just to run down through that and have a good look. We've dealt with the bank. That was the first place we dealt with, because if we start editing or changing stuff within the bank, it's going to affect these other ledgers. So that's why I started with that one. You may or may not be using enterprises, and again, you can have all the transactions to the enterprise. It's just like the nominal transaction report. If you are using enterprises to subdivide your business into different department sectors, we happen to call them enterprises, then that's another good way of checking that you've got everything posted correctly. Lastly, on the analysis type thing is the actual analysis codes, which we can use for, as I say, bits of kit, projects, cottages, that sort of thing. and again we can have transaction reports there. But we would have checked them all under that nominal in the first place. Items are useful for data entry and potentially analysing out sales and purchases further, but they're not necessary for a year end, and a lot of you potentially won't be using them, but that's not a problem. Lastly, up here we've got VAT. So what we want to look for here is we want to run our closing VAT account. What that is looking at is saying, what VAT have we got as at our year end that missed the last VAT return? Or some of you may have a VAT quarter that straddles your year end. So this is the VAT that hasn't yet been on a VAT return. And what we want to just check here, that is that we haven't got very many old transaction dates here. But the one there with a 0 is because we went and edited it and changed something. So the fact it's in there as 0 could well mean that it's been edited, and that's absolutely fine, and it could have an older date. Anything else that's got VAT on it, unless you know you've edited it, it should have a more current date. So it's just a health check to make sure that we're happy with everything is in the current year, and that you know that it came in after the last VAT return for this period. Okay. We also just need to go off to our customer ledger again, thinking of VAT, and we have our trader, as we call them, because they're a customer or a supplier, depending on whether you pay VAT or whether you receive it. And we do just need to run a ledger report for our year. And if we click OK, here we've got the VAT. We sent the sales invoice, it's come in, the balance went to 0. We had our next VAT return, the money came in, the balance goes to 0, and so on. Now, it may be on timings that your balance doesn't go to 0 because this company is set up for quarterly VAT, but it may be that, you know, each month, as long as you've got each month clearing down, that's your important check. And we need to make sure that you're doing that, your VAT, with a sales receipt, and that you haven't got any bank receipts or bank payments in here for the VAT. If you have, you're not clearing this customs and excise ledger down. So either go to VAT in your VAT return, and you should be using the pay button there as to I am paying or they are paying me for that VAT coming in for the period of June there. The other option, which is not wrong, up under entries, we've got a sales receipt, and you can use the trader customs there, and it does exactly the same thing. But for some people, it's much easier to remember, I've got a VAT receipt, so come to VAT, it was for my VAT return, and on the right-hand side, they're paying me money, and away you go, they're paying me that, so pay all of them off, and save it, and that's cleared it when the VAT, when HMRC pay you that amount of money for the VAT. Great. What have we got next? Well, up under entries, some of you may be using what we call recurring entries. So I haven't got any set up here, but this is a section where you can go new and you can put in here things that happen regularly. So it could be your Vodafone for your £35 a month, and we can then save it, and then we can process it here, and they're reminders. What we're having what we need to check here is that you have processed all of the ones up to your year end, because you won't be able to process them in the new year. So if you are using this section, just please come in here. You might have an old hire purchase agreement that you need to is finished, so you need to get rid of it. So under recurring, they can be for fixed amounts of money or variable amounts of money. But if you are using this section, you do need to make sure that all of these are processed up to your year end or removed. So we've been through all the ledgers and we're potentially ready to think about the year end, but we might have made some changes. So we ought to come back up to utility, run our verify. There it is. And back to recalc the opening balances. And one last verify before we go off and start looking at some of the reports that the accountant may or may want. So, what sort of reports will the accountant want? Well, some of you, your accountants, will actually have KEYPrime, and all you need to do is send them a backup, and I will show you that in a minute. The rest of you need to go and run various reports, and again, these are on our website, but I will just quickly go through them. So, up under customer, we want to go and look at that age of debt, and for the date range, and I would suggest you want to run it by all and OK it, so that you can see everybody that is there. And the other one you will want is by detail, so that the accountant can then see whether it's subsequently being paid and which nominal and what it was for. So that's the health check that we've done. Now we're doing the reports, and we've done an age of debt in summary and in detail. We then need to go off to our supplier and do the same thing. So we've got our age of debt, and we can do it by summary, which gives you your 30, 60, 90. There it is. And then again, age of credit, and have it in detail, and go and do that. Now, whilst I'm just here, don't forget, if the accountant hasn't got KEYPrime, you can go and export the report as a PDF and save it somewhere on your computer, so that you are building up a series of PDF reports that your accountant can then, you can go to that folder and email off to your accountant. The accountant will want that closing account report. So in summary, so there it is. Again, go and save it, ready to email off to them. So that's that report there. The nominal transaction report, and again, I would suggest leaving it as landscape and showing that detail, is another report that they will want to see the detail of your postings and which nominal you've been putting them to. And then lastly, on the nominal bit, it may well be worth sending them a summary, so that they can see what was the opening, what was the closing, and what was the movement, as this will help them go and prepare your bits and bobs for your final accounts and tax returns. So the only other one that, again, it's not complete, but not all accountants want it, is an income and expenditure, and you can have an annual report, and click OK there. Will give you for your date range, which will be your financial year. So it will give you a total of what has gone through each nominal, and it will give you a gross margin, and it'll give what's gone through your balance sheet items, plus the control accounts being the VAT. So that is just a bit like giving the accountant that nominal summary report. So that's run all of the reports, and we now need to pack it up to bed. So what do I mean by that? We actually need to come in here and run the year end. And the year end button is there. and it says you're about to run the year end. Have you produced and checked all of your reports and run verify? Well, yes, we have, because in my situation here, to show you everything, I assumed that we were going to print all the reports for the accountant. If you're just going to send them a backup, you don't need to produce all the reports. They'll do it their end. So we're going to say yes, and the system goes off and does some internal health checking. It then comes up for the year-end date, which will default to 12 months before the financial year, or after, sorry, the financial year start. It can be, if you have a short year or a long year, it could be that you need to change it, but that's what it will default to. I'm going to put a tick in clear the transaction audit. That just clears down not your transactions, but when they were keyed onto the system. So we hold a lot of information behind the scenes, and that just tidies that up. And then we click OK. Now, it said, and I put that deliberately on here, it says that you recommend, because we haven't done Bank Reconcile 4, and it's saying that the year that there is this one to be processed. So let's just go back to our recurring entry, and I'm going to delete that because it had finished. And that bank account I'm not going to worry about for the demonstration purposes here. So we're going to go and run the year end, and we're going to say OK, and this time we're going to say OK. Now it's going to ask you to take a backup, and the answer to that is yes please, we want to back it up. And this will be the backup for those of you that accountant has got KEYPrime. You need to just make a note of where it is, and maybe you want to come in and change its name to something or other, and so that you can find it easily, and then click on backup. So the backup's done completely, and it's calculated a profit. This is not your profit. It is the surplus for the year, because we don't have fixed assets, we don't have prepayments and accruals, and we don't have stock on the system. They are on our next level up. So that is a surplus, and we need to come in here, and you may have a nominal in here, or you may need to create one called retained P and L, or similar to that, and we can then post that to that, and that is then saying that the year end is successful. You do not have to stop posting stuff currently if your year end has gone past. You can do your year end. We normally recommend 6 to 8 weeks after your year end to make sure that everything has come in, but you can still keep posting current stuff whilst you're waiting for final stuff for before your year end. So you can keep going, keep posting stuff as you go, and run the year end, as I say, up to about a couple of months after the year end, and then you make sure that you've got everything. Okay, so we're all done. We've got a new year start, and that is having run the KEYPrime Intro year end. The last thing we need to think about is that on my system here, I have now got on my C under landmark and KEYPrime backup, there is the file that that big file, and that is the one that needs to go off to your accountant if they have got it. If your accountant doesn't have it, and you've saved your report somewhere in your My Documents or somewhere similar to that, then go off, find those PDF documents and email them to your accountant. Now this file may be too big to send, and certainly by email is not always the best way of sending that to your accountant. So there are two options. Often your accountant may have a web portal and they will give you some instructions where you can come to your Windows Explorer here and find your file, and you can often just drag and drop that onto their Windows portal and it will uplift the file straight to them. The other option, if that isn't available to you, is that you can go off to on the web to, there are companies like Mail Big File that offer a free option that you can open up the free version. Again, you can drag and drop this file onto their web page, and you put your email and your accountant's email in, and that will then uplift the file and send it off to the accountant, and you will get an email saying there is this file available to download. So that is another option of getting the data to your accountant if they've got KEYPrime. Are there any questions? I've noted that as we've gone along, there haven't been very many questions. That I have covered everything as we've gone along. Please use the chat. I can view the chat as well as my colleagues for that. One last place that I'm going to show you is if I go back and bring up Launchpad, all of you have a big support button up here. So, okay, sorry, that's just brought it up on my other screen. So here is our landmark support page, and you will see that up it comes. There is a button here called KEYPrime Intro, and down here when you scroll down a little bit further, so you need to click on that first, then it has got a video that is nearly 10 minutes long of exactly what I've explained today and a list of the potential reports. Okay, so we got a couple of questions coming in, so great. Let's see if we can do that. I missed both times where you clicked for recalculate the balances. So it's up under utilities and there's a recalc opening balances. So under utilities is recalc the opening balances. Now there was also another question saying somebody done the year end and that they had realized something that needs changing. Well, there are two options. You can either leave it and just inform your accountant that that is there, or what I'm going to show you, please word of caution and take a backup before you do this. But actually under utilities, not underneath or near year end, up here is another one called rollback year end. So if you think, oh crikey, I've made a bit of a Horlicks of it, you can come back here, click rollback and go yes, and that has done it, and my financial year has now gone back to where I was, and I can now go and edit that transaction or post that missing one that I should have put on, correct it and redo the year end. But it's not to be, don't use it lots. Hopefully what I've shown you, you'll get everything right and you won't need to redo it. But please, when you have finished everything, if you have to do the year end or roll it back, come out of it. It will still say financial year start here, because that's what we just rolled it back. But also, if you have run the year end, so let's quickly go and do that. Note I didn't take a backup, but please do. I just did that for speed. We've now got a financial year start here, but it hasn't got it here. That's because Launchpad brought this up before we went into it, and the next time you load up Launchpad, or if you go and refresh it, it will go and give you the right year start. Just I hadn't done anything wrong. It's just when I brought up Launchpad, that was got this before the year we'd done the year end, so that's why it was showing it. If you close Launchpad down, or refresh it, it will have a financial year start that will be correct. Lastly, yeah, Smart View is a new, I happen to be working on the next version that you will get in the next few months, and it includes Smart View, which is a graphing of cash flows and things like that, which is something that we are putting into the next version of KEYPrime Intro that, as I say, you will get in the next few months. As you may or may not be aware, we try and give 2 updates of the program if we can each year, with extra features and functions, and Smart View is coming along. So when you get that version, have a look at the notes, and away you go. Oh, that's a very good question. Coming up here, which month should be the current month? So down the bottom here, we've got your financial year start, we've got your last transaction number, and we've got the current month. Now, the current month is set under utilities and current month. What that does is, if I go and change it to, say, February, oh, maybe not, because we've just run the year end. Let me, and August. When I go and I do any of the reports, it will default the end date to be the last date of the current month. So it's just, people will normally change it about halfway through the month, because they want to, if we're sat here and we're posting all of April stuff, we will want to go to whichever report it is and run that, and it will want to be up to the end of April. Once we've finished April, we then move it on to May, so the next time we come onto the system, the reports will default to that date. You can go and change that date. What was the report for the accountant after the credit but before the nominal transaction? Probably the VAT closing account. So that was this one here, and the closing account running that report. There's another question: if I've added new nominals throughout the year, can I go back and change transactions individually? Yes, of course you can, not a problem. I'm just going to roll back the year end, otherwise I won't be able to show you it. So you could just go and select your nominals, or you could run all of these and run the transactions for the date range. The easiest way is, when you're coming down this report, is just click on the transaction number, and if that should have been, instead of it being barley, it should have been wheat, just change it and save it. And if you click on the refresh button, it will now have moved it to wherever you have put it. So yes, you can go and edit these by clicking on the transaction, is probably the easiest way of changing stuff. Lastly, to thank you all very much for attending, and I hope you found it worthwhile. As I said at the beginning, we will endeavour to get a video. Potentially it's an hour, so we might cut 1 or 2 bits out that were repeats and things like that. We will send you a link of how we get there, of how you can get there, probably via email. We'll either put it on our website or send you a link to be able to download it. We've got one last question. If crop sales are coming in November for last year's crop, how to pick this up for the accountant? So when you do your bank receipt and we've got money coming in there, change the invoice date. If you put that as being, and if I go and put it that it happened for 19, that will then show them that it came in last year. Or if it came in last year's, we can put that in there, and you would then put, if you're using enterprises, you could then put that was arable 19 harvest rather than 2020 harvest. so we can use enterprises too. So crop sales coming in November for the last year's crop. If it's the money is coming in November, but it was for the last year, yes, we've got the invoice date, which we need to be careful of, but I would use enterprises. So here we've got arable and the harvest years, because although you drill seed in an autumn or spring, you'll harvest it in the summer, but you might sell it that autumn or even the following year, and you need to track how well that crop did. So use of enterprises is very good. Great. Thank you for the positive comments. That's really nice. Thank you very much. If there aren't any further questions, I wish you a good rest of your day. But I will just stay here quietly for the moment. If any of you have got any questions that you'd like me to deal with right here and now, please key them in and I will answer them. Thank you all very much. Which report showed up income and expenditure? So that one's under management. And you've got their income and expenditure, which you can have against budgets and things like that. But I just used an annual. And once you build up data, you might want to show, you'll always have last year there as well. So you'll get a comparison of your figures. Here it comes. Of this year, I haven't got any data for last year, but you can then see the difference and scroll down there and spot anything that is too untoward. That can be quite useful. There was another report that showed the gross margin. That would have shown you the gross margin. So that one will show you a gross margin. Let's have this one up. So this will give you a gross margin. If you want an individual report, the other one is go and run a transactions report for the enterprise, and then at the bottom you will effectively get a margin for that at the bottom. We've all used KEYPrime as a very simple bookkeeping tool. Our accountant wants the year end either on a USB or email stick. How do we do this? I wouldn't recommend an email. The reason for that is it's quite a big file, and we have known the data get corrupted. So if you want to put it on a memory stick, not a problem. Come back to your Launchpad, and when you click Backup, there, go and select your memory stick. I've got one there, and save it to there, and that will put it onto the memory stick. So it's just a question of changing where you want it to back up to here. And again, when you run the year end in the program, when it says when you want to do a backup, that also has the option to save it where you want to, so that could be your USB stick as well. What size would you recommend for a smaller farm or the year end of memory stick? The smallest one you can buy. The reason for me saying that is the modern 1-2 gigabytes you probably can't buy, and you will fit 50, 60, 200 backups onto the smallest one that you will be able to buy. So buy the smallest one. A, it's cheaper, and B, you can rotate round your memory sticks, and then you know you've always got relatively new ones that work. Thank you very much, and have a good day.